Okay, ladies, we are live. Welcome to English Lutheran Weekly. This week, we have members of our transition team with us. We're going to be talking about the process of calling a new pastor. So we welcome any of your questions in the chat as we move along and talk about where we have been in the process and where we are now and what's next. So ladies, I'll have you introduce yourself. If one of you would like to introduce the rest of the transition team, that would be great.
All right.
So Julie.
Julie Krewald. I have been a member at English for probably about 28, 29 years, and am enjoying being on this process.
Okay.
I am Kathy Hageseth. We joined English in the mid-90s, and I have enjoyed this process as well, intense as it has been.
And who's on the rest of your team?
Okay, Julie, I'll take a try. Our Pastor Glenn facilitates our team. There's 6 of us, including him: Julie, myself, Jennifer Carr, Greg Pritchard, Dennis Nauman. Is that it?
No.
Yep. All 6.
Okay, great. We're happy that you guys are here to represent your team here tonight and give us an update. So we're in the process of calling a new pastor, and the first step is to organize the transition team, which we have. So what does the transition team do?
Is that my? Okay. Yes, here I am. Thank you, Nikki. The transition team is the first step toward the process of calling a new pastor. We use a form called the Ministry Site Profile, which is a very complete, very detailed form that Julie's going to talk about it in detail a little bit. But the purpose of this is to identify characteristics of our community and especially of our congregation, to give a clear picture of who we are, what's important to us, what characteristics and qualities in a new pastor would be important to us so that we get a good fit.
Okay. So when did you guys start meeting?
We started meeting on Zoom the 1st of February, and we met weekly for all that time. 3 weeks ago, we were able to start meeting in person. And, Zoom is a lifesaver, but there's a lot of paperwork involved in this. And so that was challenging. So for 3 weeks, we've been able to meet in person. We distance, we wear masks, we meet at the church. And that has made our process somewhat easier. We anticipate we have another month or 2 of work before we are finished with our part of things.
Okay. And so what were your first steps? So tell us, how you started or what you had to do to begin this process.
All right. Well, when we first met, we just had a lot of just generalized conversation about our church, our involvement in church, what we saw, strengths and weaknesses. And then we started digging into this document we need to complete called the Ministry Site Profile. And I would have to say we're pretty almost all of us were overwhelmed with the complexity of this document and the length of it. It's 12 pages long. Some of it is pretty easy to do. It's demographics about the La Crosse area, the age breakdown of our church, that sort of thing. So that was probably the easy part, and Jennifer Jones helped us with a lot of that. But then it really gets into the details of the vision and mission of our church, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are maybe, where we want to grow, and what we do really well. And it was amazing how we could spend an hour or 2 in a meeting just focused on one part of that profile. We really go into detail about what our church is, and then what are the characteristics of who we are looking for in a senior pastor. So we meld those things together of who we are and what we're looking for.
Okay. Interesting. It has to be a fascinating process. to go through.
Overwhelmed. A lot of information, a lot of conversation.
But it's good information to try to figure out, I'd imagine, of our transition of how, how we're going to get to be, how to get the perfect fit, the best fit for us.
Mm-hmm. And we have a document from 2016 when Pastor Becky was called, but we really needed to look at it in a whole different light because we're calling a senior pastor now.
Okay. So what step are you on now, or what part of the process? You started with that site profile, and so what part of the process are you on now?
We're continuing with the ministry site profile. We have, as Julie said, done a lot of that. We try to keep our meetings down to 2.5 hours, but sometimes we go into 3 every week. And so we're making a lot of progress. The profile asks a lot of information in a lot of different ways. And so sometimes it seems repetitive. It'll ask for something, the same kind of information, but in a different way. Give us these 3 characteristics, then they want us to give 5. So we're still working through that. We're getting much more familiar with it. But as the 6 of us are working through this, it's obvious and vital that we get as much input from the congregation as possible, because that's the congregation that this pastor is going to be serving. So to that end, we once we got a little bit more familiar and comfortable with the ministry site profile, we kind of drilled down and decided, when we always knew we wanted to access the congregation in as many ways as possible. So at this point, we have sent a survey out with some of the important points that the ministry site profile has been asking us. We're now asking the congregation. Every household will get the survey that will ask 3 important questions. To this date, we have gotten well over 150 returns, and we're getting more time. So we're really excited because we need that information. The 6 of us cannot present anything like a comprehensive picture. So the questions are, for those people that haven't received it, the first one was a series of many qualities or critical tasks that would be important in a senior pastor, and the question was to pick 5. The second,
that was tough. I remember having to fill it out just last week. That was tough because there's so many important things.
Yes, and some of them seem repetitive. For example, one was ecumenical work, and another one was the church and the larger world. So they seem, to be fairly, the same. But anyway, people did a good job on that. The second question is, what is our church really excited about right now? And the third question asked, what one particular thing would you want our new senior pastor to really focus on? So we're tabulating as they come in. We're tabulating all of those results. We're finding what are the particular common themes of those last 2 questions,
okay,
and integrate that whole thing into the ministry site profile that we complete.
Wow. I know that we sent that out to about 457, 400 somewhere in there, that many households. So it's good that they're still streaming in and that we've got a good chunk of them coming back. And like Kathy said, if you're a member of English Lutheran and you received it, we would love to hear from you. So send that in. I know that there was a due date, I think, of last week, wasn't there? But you can send them in, or was that for staff?
Initially, it was April 30th, but we realized the survey was going out. That seemed too quick turnaround for us, so we extended the date to May 7th.
Okay.
I think there was a postcard that went out that get your survey in before May 7th.
Okay,
so
good.
If you want to be heard, fill it out.
Yes. The more we hear from, the better equipped we are to finding that senior pastor that will be a good fit for us. So fill those in. Is that form also on our website or no? Was it just sent? Do you know?
As far as I know, it was sent by regular mail with a stamped envelope inside.
Okay.
Hey, Julie, do you know?
I'm not sure if it was in the Voice last week that they could have printed a copy of it.
Okay.
Seems
I'm just
like I
curious.
saw that.
Okay. Okay, so what is next then? So now you are going through these surveys and you're meeting in person and you're collating all the information then that you get. I think I have heard some things about potential small groups. What is that going to be? What is that all going to be about?
Yeah, we are looking at bringing together some small groups. With church just opening up, we're looking for direction from the opening committee in that, just because we don't want to rush things until we know we're comfortable with the worship services to start other things. So our goal really would be to do some small group discussion, a couple times in the next month, because we want to get more informal dialogue about what the congregation's,
Okay.
wishes and are as well. So we're still
Okay.
compiling information. Our goal is to get that ministry site profile completed based on all this information. And once we get that done, it goes to the vision board for approval. So
Okay.
the committee is very anxious to not hear that they send it back to us and we have to start meeting again. So the vision to approve it, and then it would go to the Senate, and then the call committee gets activated and starts their work.
Okay. Okay. So and we don't have necessarily a timeline, I guess. From what my knowledge is, I mean, the more people respond and help out with these surveys and respond to the small group need and that dialogue, the faster that this would go. Otherwise, not really a specific timeline. It's just based on response. Is that correct to say?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
more information we get, the better. That faster it'll go.
Yeah.
and obviously COVID is slowing us.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yes,
Right.
yes, in every way.
So we will be forming a call committee. I know that is 6 people, and it can be any member of the congregation except for staff. They couldn't have been on a call committee before. We're looking for diversity, and you have to be nominated, from what I understand. That somebody from the congregation would nominate you. Is that your understanding?
That's right. The Senate, the Senate's mandate, whatever, there are 6 people on the call committee. They would much prefer not to have someone that's been on the call committee before. They would really like to have one person from the vision board. One person from the transition team will be on the call committee. That will just make this whole form so much easier. And then the other 4 members will be nominated by the congregation. Letters going out, we'll nominate, letters going out to people to nominate a candidate for the call committee. The vision board will then submit a slate of the 6 people, and it will be voted on at a congregational meeting.
Okay. And then those 6 people, once they're voted on, they are the ones that do the interviewing. They review the site profile and know what they're looking for or what the congregation is looking for in a senior pastor, and then they conduct the interviews, right?
That's my understanding. And my understanding is also that I believe, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they do their own ministry site profile. They have ours as a resource, just like we had Pastor Becky's as a resource. I think they do their own and then use that in their interviewing and so forth. And our work is done at that point. We are not involved in the call process, except for the one person who transition committee.
Okay.
The transition team.
Okay. Has anything stood out to you in the process so far? Like that's been like, wow, this is kind of interesting to find out, or this is an interesting part of this process that you didn't see coming. Anything that stood out to you?
I only have 19 of the 100 surveys that we got so far, but It's some of the comments have been very, very interesting. Most everybody that I've read on my surveys they're just excited about getting back together again. They're excited about us moving on to the next chapter. And then they've thrown some weird things. The question that said, what are the church really excited about now? Somebody said, that's a really loaded question. Like, okay, I guess that's a positive statement. So, we're really appreciative. Some people, filled it out and continued on the back. They had a lot to say.
Good. Good. What about you, Julie, in this part of the process so far?
I think it's been very interesting and really fun to see how our group has gelled and really have been able to openly talk and have good dialogue at our meetings. Everybody's comfortable, feels like it's a safe place. So we've really been able to have some good conversations. And it's amazing how we all really share the values and really want to emphasize what is so good about English Lutheran, and to be able to put that in writing.
Okay. Have you gotten into any really good fights? Like, no, this is more important. No, this is more important. No, just kidding. You don't have to answer that.
We got into such a
really I say we have a little.
Huh? What'd you say?
Julie's frozen.
Uh-oh. So then I can take this opportunity to say that last week we got into a really interesting conversation about implicit bias and racism and so forth. And we were just really getting into it. And Pastor Glenn was just wonderful. He finally stood up and he said, we can continue on with this conversation if you'd like, or we can get back to work. And he was so gentle in it. It was a conversation you'd have at a bar. And we were really like Julie said, it's such a good group. We're getting so comfortable with each other now, and we needed to be yanked back to the ministry site profile.
Julie, what were you going to add?
I don't really remember at this point.
Okay, sorry, you froze up. Well, good. I'm glad that people have asked, what is taking so long? Where are we at? What are we doing? So this is a really good update, and it's good to know, it's good and bad to know that COVID slowed the process down a little bit, but you guys seem to be making strides in this, being able to meet together, and it's just a lot easier, like you said, with a lot of paperwork and things like that. So, and we don't want, one of my comments back to people when they say, well, how come it's not moving faster? Well, we want the process to work. So we don't want to rush the process either. And so that's one of my responses, that, it's going to take the time that it needs to give us the best possible candidates. So
I'm so glad you invited us on, because if I were a member of the congregation, I would be thinking, what's going on behind the scenes? What is there anything happening? And just to know that we're working hard and that we will do everything we can to get congregational input. And I would just say, if stuff that anybody has to offer is not captured on the survey that we sent or whatever, just contact any of the 6 of us, and we would be happy to take any of those concerns to our meetings. We meet every week, so it won't take long.
That's a big commitment, meeting every week for 2 to 3 hours. And that's, thank you for all of you for what you're doing.
On Zoom with the 14-page document.
Fun. Well, do you have anything else about the process? I guess we're putting a plug in to fill those surveys out and send those in. You guys can all be contacted at any point. Pastor Glenn and Pastor Becky are both here to help, and anyone in the office. If you have questions, contact the office. We'll put you in touch with anybody from the team or Pastor Glenn. But again, I thank you. Oh, there goes Julie.
Pastor Glenn has done this before, and has worked a little bit with this form. So he has been an incredible help to get us familiar with the process and familiar with the form.
Good. Okay, well, we didn't have any comments or any questions here tonight so far, so I'm going to add Julie back in here. So it's good to know that technology is working in and out. Oh, then now she's back.
Hi, Julie.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
All right. Well, I would like to close us off with a prayer for the transition team and our congregation. So let's do that now. Gracious God, we thank you for this transition team that you have helped us put together. We pray for their time together and that their conversation be enlightening and help us progress to the next level of forming our call committee and Lord, be with them as they contemplate and they correlate all of this information so that we can get the best possible candidate for our congregation that we need. In your name we pray. Amen. So join us next week on English Lutheran Weekly when we talk to Chuck Gustafson and another member of the property committee on what's happening with different parts of some property projects that are happening, talking about the ventilation that needs to happen in different areas so we can open more of the building or have more numbers in here, things like that we are going to be talking to them. Been happening. I know there's been some construction from Four Seasons Landscape that is outside by our bell tower area. We put some pavers in there so we can have some outdoor worship and things like that. So we have a little bit more space on our grounds. So there's still things happening even though the building is not fully open. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. And there's a comment here that says from Karen, just remember that it was a 2-year process to call Pastor Mark, and it was, and that was without the complications of COVID. So, which is a good point. Yeah. So it's a process. Well, yep. Thank you for that reminder, Karen. Yes, it is a process. So we look forward to next week and good luck with the rest of your meetings. And I hope people continue to send in those surveys and join you for your in-person discussions that you're going to have towards the end of May.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.